Yeah, 26 is a time of great upheaval in someone's life. You know, your brain's finally setting into its adult form, and you question a lot of things in life, including your unwavering belief in your own immortality. Sometimes you leave the girl that you love for the girl you met at EB. Sometimes you buy the car with the racing stripes down the top because you've paid bills all your life and you're sick of driving old family sedans. Hypothetically, of course. But sometimes you turn out to be more mature than the producer of the TV show that you've spent 5 years on. You know, the one that in its heyday took on the ABC, that in the pre-YouTube void offered a chance for a poor white trash kid from Dandenong to scream out into the void and to be heard amongst all these other voices. And, you know, that kind of breaks your heart just a little bit. And yet, sometimes it's just the breakaway that you need, just the fresh start that you need. You know, you've managed to build up your loyal crew, your lost boys, as it were, and maybe you decide to break out and continue your rejection of everything that real life has to offer you, and continue on, you know, with whatever that means, and just do things your way. So you do it, and suddenly you find yourself right back in the mix, fixing that broken heart with a roll of gaffer tape. You know, in the early days are tough. You know, you don't even have a camera. Luckily you do, because your mum happens to work at Canon at the time and gets you a great deal on a great Canon Handycam. You don't have a time slot because you weren't even the executive producer on the show that you worked 5 years for. And you don't even technically have a contract with Channel 31. Luckily, Channel 31, for whatever reason, decides that, hey, we want to keep you guys around, so they give you one. And New Game Plus TV is born. From the ashes arises this phoenix. On the name though, do you get it yet? Like, New Game Plus, as in, like, you take all your skills, you take all your experience from your previous run through, and you play the same game again. New Game Plus TV. Do you get it? It's layers on layers, man. Layers on layers, I promise. You know, and despite everything, it was still worth it. I feel in my soul that I've gained more than I lost from it. And it opened up the world to me. And I mean that literally in some senses. All the trips to America and Japan were 100% because of our work on the show. Not to mention all the domestic trips, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, all the different places that we traveled just would not have been possible without the show. And with that as well, I feel like, you know, with everything that we had, you know, Sydney still sucks, but we had to go there a lot for work. So I've seen the best of it. We've seen the best of these places. You know, all the different trips have allowed us to see what we really enjoy about all these different spots, you know. And it's all of that is 100% because of what we had for the show. I mean, realistically, how else would I have ever got to meet Billy West and ask him the one question that he was passionate about and his manager wasn't passionate about, and then allowed him to go off on a rant about a subject that he was passionate about right in my company? You know, being, I guess, an elder statesman of the craft and someone who's as accomplished as yourself, I mean, what are you hoping that people take forward? Like, is there something you want to see, I guess, voice acting and animation, like, is there a path you want to see it go down?
I'm seeing it happen already at these conventions. A lot of people have been inspired to become voiceover performers. And I'm like, that's the greatest thing in the world. That's kind of one of the reasons you do it, is so you could inspire other people. And, you know, celebrities doing voices for stuff, I mean, it'll never go away, but they will overlook, like, seriously talented voiceover people for a star. And when I was growing up, and this is the honest truth, is my heroes weren't celebrities. My heroes were artists, you know, like Les Paul on guitar and Jeff Beck and Michelangelo and Da Vinci. You know, artists were my heroes, and so celebrity has nothing to do with anything. And I've always been sort of like, that never mattered to me. Just didn't, you know.
Well, and I guess being the talented man you are, you're also a well-accomplished musician as well. You've done lots of music and worked in a lot of different bands. I mean, how do you find time to do it all? Or you don't? You just squeeze it all in somehow?
It's happened over a bunch of years. I'm 60, so I had a lot of time to do all this stuff. I actually played with one of my idols, Brian Wilson, and I played lead guitar in his band for a while, and he was the closest thing to an angelic being I ever met in my life. You know, he was just, the music is still all there, and And I couldn't believe I'm sitting with the guy that wrote Good Vibrations and God Only Knows, and I was like, I didn't know how to talk to him. That to me, those are the people that shook the world. He was not big celebrity. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll have to wrap it up there. Billy West, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
That's off the air, folks.
Or get to go have tequila and dinner with Suda 51 after asking him what a frog minute is. I still, to this day, don't know what a frog minute is, despite the answer that he gave. But, or you get to meet Lloyd Kaufman. You grow up on Troma films for years and years, and he's Toxic Avenger, all the greats. And you finally get to meet Lloyd Kaufman and understand where that mental Troma genius comes from.
Independent cinema. Hilarious, gory, sexy. Any other words?
Well, Troma is a kind of a mix master of the genres. You can hear some of our fans out there. They saw Toxie, and the ladies love Toxie. So you mix. Troma is basically the movies we make are movies of the future. We mix social relevance with slapstick comedy, lots of hard-bodied lesbians and pretty good sex, and a great deal of head crushing and dismemberment, but in a very tasteful way, of course.
Exactly. I think that's what everyone wants.
Well, Peter Jackson is a big Troma fan. Of course, James Gunn, who did Slither, and he used to work for Troma. Eli Roth, of course. Takashi Miike. A lot of today's directors, like Gaspar Noé, and in Japan, Takashi Miike is a big Troma fan. So we've been a big influence. We have no money. We don't have any revenue, but we do. We have a big reach. Very, very. A lot of today's younger, more mainstream directors have been fans of Troma and been influenced by Troma.
Add on to that, laughing at Liam Dilly dying of food poisoning while we played golf in Penrith. Add on to that, rooftop spas in Brisbane. Add on to that, driving across Rainbow Bridge in a go-kart at 80 kilometres an hour in the pelting rain in the middle of Japan. Add on to that, firing a 500 Smith & Wesson revolver in Los Angeles. Add on coming with the crew to GG Easy, one of the best 3 bars in Melbourne, hands down. It's provided me with such great times. A lot of what we've managed to accomplish is because of everyone pulling together and making the show. But then things change. People move on to live their real lives. People you care about come and go. Friends move on to go start their real lives. Crew members go on to bigger and better things or anything else. Everyone leaves Neverland eventually. But change isn't necessarily bad. It's just change. And perhaps the biggest change that we ever had was a shift in venue. No more lounge room. Hello, RMI TV. And thus begins the RMIT section of our story. Originally, out of the blue, a friend of Tim's from high school, I believe, or maybe it was his work, I'm not 100% sure, says, hey, I love what you guys do. How about you come and film it at RMIT? And it was nice. It was nice to get the what was becoming the oppressive kind of housemate out of the house. Plus, with everything going on at home, you just didn't know whether it was going to be there the next week. So having something like RMIT with its astounding setup, we're talking top tier, we're talking television, broadcast tier stuff, made a different show. It meant that we could finally kind of expand and do what we were meant to do, like what we always wanted to try to do in the old days. At a certain point, guerrilla filmmaking takes its toll, just like guerrilla warfare takes its toll. I won't get political. But eventually you get to that point where it's time. You get to try these different things. I get to do my late night style show. Jack gets to do his summer series. Everyone gets the advantage of having the big stage. We don't have to crowd into the freezing cold house in Doveton or the less freezing cold but still cold house in Mulgrave. And it's just easier because it's in the city and everyone can come here and we can go out for dinner afterwards and we can make it part of the lifestyle. It got to the point where we'd reconcile. The show had received a new life simply by being in this new setting, and then something happened that takes away a lot of life, and then suddenly everything changed, and we were to here. And I'm not making a switch joke for once. This is what COVID did. This was the welcome to the COVID world that existed once everything was,
ending. And that's been the hard part for, I mean, I'd love to tell you that COVID's over and it's not. But when it started, man, did it just rip the guts out of everyone. We obviously had really swift and strict lockdowns, which, obviously saved lives. Not interested in any conspiracy theories. Send your emails right up your ass. But it really did take a toll. It took a toll on seeing people in person, and it took a toll on what you would consider the chemistry of New Game Plus. We went from being able to speak to good friends that we've obviously traveled overseas. We've been to numerous conventions together. We've done hundreds of episodes of TV together, and suddenly, as good as it was to still be able to speak to these people, still see their faces, still talk to them, it's not the same. And despite what, it always is a joke amongst our crew that TV standards have changed to match. Beforehand you never would have got away with a Zoom interview unless it was a last resort. Now, everyone seems fine with it. Everyone's made their peace with the idea of Zoom interviews. And, I mean, even then, I'd still love to point out there's plenty of other ways to do it. But with all that said, you can't stress just how much it changed not only the media landscape, but also everyone's interpersonal landscape. And yet still we created. Still we went out of our way to create content. We went out of our way to make episodes and to make live streams and to make all these different things. We managed to continue the podcast as myself and Dermy, which has been on hiatus for a while, but, adapting to that and having that still be a thing with both of us. And again, it relied on that a little bit more of that chemistry in person. So maybe now that we are allowed to see each other, we'll have to bring it back. But we also got plenty of episodes done. We got interviews. We got these great interviews with local devs and other people in the industry who I'm just so impressed with. We had the Unpacking team. We had Chad Toprak. We had Stephen Haller. All these great people who I've known in the industry for many years, and I wanted to give that spotlight to. But it takes its toll, and not only on your work life, but your personal life. And during that time, my grandmother, who is, I would argue, the single formulative influence in my life, she was already unwell. She'd had a stroke previously, but she took particularly unwell, and she passed late last year. And suddenly, everything's tough. You can't really express yourself the way you want to. You can't push these things the way you want to when it comes to making a career or a living out of it. You just have to do what you have to do. Then, the person who guided so much of who you were and who you became, she's gone now too. So it really does get you to that point where you go, well, do I have the energy to keep doing this? Do I really want to just keep plugging away at this thing 40 weeks a year minimum when I could save that energy and use it elsewhere? And the answer, unfortunately for the show and for most of us, was no.
So what now? I mean, I kind of honestly don't know. It's been 15 years and 600 episodes since I started doing television. 15 years. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to really strain the analogy, but it's like raising a kid. You know what I mean? It started off as nothing, and now it is what it is, and I have to let it go, kind of thing. And then people I've loved have come and gone, and friends have moved on to be their best selves, and the remaining crew have the real world lapping at their doorsteps. So what is next? But despite it all, the passion to create is still there. It still niggles at me every time I'm not thinking of what we can do for the show or how we can leverage something for the show. It gnaws at me. It picks away, and I know I'm not alone. I can tell you for sure I'm not alone. Liam's nearly finished his series post New Game Plus. Jack and I have discussed doing a bunch of stuff. Hell, we've even got a bunch of Murasaki Gamer content in the can that has not even seen the light of day. I mean, similar to. These are not 6%ers.
You got me 9%.
I did get you 9%.
No, they're going to be so bad.
With cola, 9%, quarter too high.
Shit. That's so
Being
dangerous.
COVID safe, we of course have glasses.
Yeah, we're not going to share the can.
That's true. I wiped it out before, so it should be fine.
No homo. And also COVID safe.
So, smells like cola.
It's gonna taste
gonna
like
taste like
It's gonna
acid.
taste like a gut punch.
Kanpai.
Kanpai.
Oh, just straight away.
Oh,
Lemony
see,
acid.
That wasn't too bad. I'm mostly tasting Coke. I don't mind it.
They're very different palates, right? All I'm getting is booze. Booze over the top of everything. It just saturates it.
The boot. Okay, there was a bit more on the second mouthful. But no, that was actually really not that bad. I could do a few of those. I could do a number of those and have a great
Yeah,
night.
but that's how tragedy occurs.
Oh, no, strong
Japan.
zeros are a nightmare.
Make sure you
honest to
finish
God.
it because I gotta.
Yeah, it's gone, it's gone, it's gone. Last little drop.
Oh, I mean, it tastes like cola. It tastes like, you know, like those like.
All you're
organic-
tasting is the shoe high. Like, that's all you
Yeah,
can taste
all
there.
those organic colas that are like carob based and stuff like that.
You're like, I can only drink Pepsi Max.
No, I-
Bugger
look,
off. Why?
Barbecue. That's. Do you want to read that? What does that say? Barbecue.
Yeah, no.
Fine. It's barbecue flavor.
I'm a very
but
slow
it's,
reader.
it's like Japanese barbecue. You see, it's not like traditional.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like it's all
What is
Throw
this,
a few snags
what
on
is
the
this
Barbie.
mascot happening here?
This
Can you
is,
show the
I don't know.
camera?
I think this is like the puff chips.
The baby
Let's find out.
potato.
Baby
Terrifying.
potato. You haven't done a pack shot yet.
Oh god! Right, so there's your packet.
There we go. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. Fantastic.
Oh god!
Jason, have you tried these all before and you knew
No,
we should?
I've had those. That's
this
it.
is your first time
Yeah,
too?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The,
These were
the
good.
one at the end is the one that I'm most excited for.
Oh, good.
I like this, the finale piece. That's really exciting. Thank you kindly.
Barbecue, yeah. Here for
These
it.
just look like kettle, big time.
Yep.
They are pungently barbecue.
Yeah, it's a barbecue chip. Groundbreaking.
Meh. No.
What?
What? Boring. Boring.
Part so far. But if nothing else, despite all the changes, despite everything else, I still have to make it my way. It's always been one of those things. You ask anyone on the crew, there's two things I can't do. Voiceover or read a script. And it's funny because I think this episode has a voiceover in it as well, but we'll just ignore that. But I've written a script for this bit. This is me allowing myself to do this in my style. Everything before now I'd at least written down. And it doesn't sound like much, but it's always one of those funny things. I remember when a lot of the young guys come to me and they wanted help. And they would say, what's your advice? My advice is always read a script, write a script, produce it, memorize it, internalize it, blah, blah, blah. And yet I'm the worst. I'm the worst for it. I'm the Shirley Temple. One take, it's done, thank you, in the can, see you later, get out of it. And I just can't help it. I just can't do it. I have to be quote unquote spontaneous for whatever that's worth. And it served me well for the most part, but you know, I'm sure David watching this, Prospect watching this, I should say, is shaking his head knowing exactly what headaches that's provided for him in the past. But you know what? Despite it all, despite everything, you know, I will miss it. I'll miss doing the show. I'll miss week after week. And it does demand a certain amount of your life. It 100% does. I'm sure I've strained relationships. I'm sure I've strained friendships by having to complete the show, by having to at least once a week show up to film, to record, to do something related to the show. I have no doubt that's the case, and it's the choice I made, and it's the choice I live with. But I still don't regret any of it. I hate to say it, I don't regret it. And I thank everyone who's been along for the ride, whether it's the old crew, whether it's the new crew, the current crew, whether it's good friends, whether it's girlfriends, whether it's partners, whomever. It wouldn't be the same without any of them, and yet I feel like at the same time they did enough to make it to add their contribution to me and to the show, and for that I'll always be eternally grateful. This thing wouldn't have happened without their energy, without their love for it, without their passion for it. And I sometimes that's hard to quantify. At what point can I say it was worth X, Y, Z? I mean, it was never technically worth anything financially, but most of the people who work on the show now either work in games or they work in audiovisual or they work in events. I work in events. Make sure you come to Crunchyroll Expo Australia 2022. Just saying. But I feel like at the same time, some things will never change. There's certain things that will never change in me. I'll never really use a script. I'll always pine after Japan. And I think that's the next step. Maybe that is the next step. I'll become the next Paolo from Tokyo, but Jason from whatever city I end up in. I don't know. For me, it's a chance to kind of break away from it. And despite ending the weekly show, I still think I can't help myself but create. What that form takes at the moment, I couldn't tell you. But I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to break away. I'm excited to be able to give it the send-off that I think it deserves. But at the same time, I I kind of don't think I'm done with Neverland. So I'll be here. I mean, you'll see me at GG. We'll have a beer. We can talk about, you know, if you remember the show, if you've ever watched it, if you've ever been a part of it, you know, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And to obviously everyone who watched it as well. You know, if I was making it just for me and our crew, that's masturbation at that point. You know, we've had enough fans. I've been recognised in Tokyo. I've been recognised in Dandenong Plaza. I've been recognised in the city. I've been recognised in Sydney. I've been recognised in all the capital cities. And it always warms my heart to see people enjoy what we made in the end. But, you know, unfortunately, all things come to an end, and the toll it takes is just a little bit too much to do weekly TV. So I think I'll have a little bit of a break, and then we'll be back. I don't see New Game Plus ending, as far as New Game Plus, the site, ending anytime soon. But it's time for the TV show to go into to its well-earned rest. But until then, you know, do check out newgameplus.tv. Do check us out on the socials. Do check us out on everything. Feel free to still follow us. Feel free to chat to us. We'll still be loving games. We'll still be playing them. And I'll still be kind of here in Neverland, which, you know what? Maybe I'm okay with it in the end. Maybe that's the lesson I had to learn. It just took 15 years. See you next time.